Hello, everyone. Welcome to Carousel. I'm Barry Kesselman, your host for today, and we're going to hop on a horse on the carousel and go around talking to interesting people about interesting subjects and find out all sorts of things about this universe of ours as we spin around getting dizzy. Today, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, although that shouldn't put you off, but this is Tom Greenbaum, whom I often refer to as Tom Green Twig or Green Leaf or Green something or other. But Tom is an entrepreneur, a business person, an advisor to business, and an author. And we're going to spend a little while talking about some of the great things that he's done and some of the things that you might be interested in that he can help you with. So Tom, welcome.
Good to be here.
My pleasure. Let me tell you where I first met Tom, and then Tom and I can tell you a bit about him. Tom and I met at Indian Guides when our sons were 6 years old, and we were looking to join an Indian tribe at the YMCA. Right. And actually no one would have us, right, Tom?
That's right.
So we formed our own, and Tom was naturally sachem or president because that's his normal position. And he put together a tribe that eventually won the great float contest for years and years and years, the Mighty Senecas. So I knew from the beginning that Tom was the kind of person that could lead and produce leadership, and he's never proved me wrong.
Good.
Tom, tell us a bit about your background, and then we'll get into some of the things you've done with one of your 6 books, at least, and SCORE, which I know is a pride and joy of yours.
Well, I'm a product of Procter & Gamble. I started my career back in the early 60s at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati. I spent a bunch of years there, and then went to a company called Church & Dwight, which you know as Arm & Hammer, where I introduced the non-polluting laundry detergent. In 1973, I went into the consulting business with a company called Glendenning in Westport, and stayed in the consulting business till really 2006. Various capacities, the last 15 years of which with a company called Groups Plus, which was a focus group consulting company. 2006, I formed a company selling things on eBay called ConsignNet out of Wilton, Connecticut, where I did that for 3 years and had a very large eBay company.
Let me introduce you. Let me interrupt you on that, because I remember I actually went out with you a few times, doing what you enjoy thoroughly, which is going to people's basements and attics and looking at what I call their junk and what you found to be quite saleable on eBay, right?
We sold over 50,000 items on eBay during the course of that business.
Fantastic.
And I closed it in 2009 because I couldn't make any money. And it's just a problem with the model of eBay. Then I joined an organization called SCORE, where I am now, in 2009, and I've been there ever since.
Very good. Let's start with SCORE, and then we'll float back and forth between that and your book as to how to advise entrepreneurs. SCORE stands for?
SCORE originally stood for Service Corps for Retired Executives. And since then, they've come up with a bunch of other names, but I still refer to it that way. And we're a national organization with 364 chapters all around the United States and over 13,000 volunteers, most of which are retired. Not all, but most are retired. I happen to belong to the Fairfield County chapter, which is headquartered in Norwalk.
Now, SCORE is a government organization.
We're part of the Small Business Administration. Our mission is to help small businesses succeed. So we work with startups at any stage. You have an idea, or we work with somebody who's already in business. About half my clients are already in business. We work free, totally free and confidential, and we hope people would come to SCORE and help them do everything from new product development to business planning to financial planning, manufacturing, really any aspect of business.
So that's where all of your past experience comes in really handy.
Yes, it does.
Without that, you could be me giving advice and it wouldn't make any difference.
Right. Well, since I've been at SCORE since 2009, I've seen over 500 different clients and in virtually every single product and service category.
Now, and I want to get into some of those with you, the successes and perhaps those that weren't successful. I don't know if SCORE uses the word failure, but those who were less successful.
Right.
But before that, in order to have the need for SCORE, you have to have an idea for a business.
Not necessarily.
Oh,
We have people that come to us and say, I'd like to go into business, and what could I do? And I basically give people the same advice all the time, which is I tell the audience is follow your passion. If you don't know what you want to do, follow your passion and do something within your passion, and we'll develop a business from that.
very good. Your passion wasn't finding junk in people's attics, however.
Not anymore.
But it was fun while it lasted.
I loved it.
So finding your passion and then going from that abstract concept to a successful business takes a lot of steps.
Yes, it
And
does.
I know in your writings you've discussed those steps, and I'd like to go into that. And if I may, at this point, talk about your latest book, which is called You Can Do It. All you need is a chance. A guide for starting and running a small business. And where's it available, by the way?
On Amazon or Kindle or iPad.
Very good. And with this book as the guide, tell me what I might learn from the book and then how you apply those kinds of things to SCORE.
There's basically 5 steps that I say are the keys to success in small business. And the first and most important step is to have a good idea. And what I tell all my clients is if you don't have a good idea, go back to step 1 until you have a good idea. Because it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't have a good idea, you're not going to succeed. So that's step number 1. And the book talks about the characteristics of a good idea and how to work through that. The second step is planning. You can't plan too much when you're starting a business. And I'm talking about not only planning in starting a business, but making sure you're planning during running the business, doing annual planning and budget planning and forecasting and all sorts of planning. The third step is to really understand your customer. Know who you're really talking to and understand how to position your product in the customer's mind. For example, BMW is, the ultimate driving machine. That's what they want you to think about when they think about BMW. Mm-hmm. Make sure that in your mind they understand what your product is. The fourth step is an interesting one, is manage your cash and watch your money. And it talks about how to make sure that you have the money when you start a business, and as you run your business, watching your money and the various things you need to do. And the fifth step is probably a surprise to a lot of people, and that is you're always a salesman. You never stop being a salesman. You can't start a business and just hire people to do all the sales. You are a salesman. So those are the basic 5 steps.
That's very good. Which of those steps are the ones where you find many of your 500 clients need the most help?
I think the planning area. I think some people come to us with good ideas. Some people come with no idea, but some people come with an idea and they need help in the planning. What do I do with this idea? How do I make it? How do I market it? And that's really the planning step.
Can you give me an example of where you've been helpful to someone in that capacity and what they've been able to do with it?
Well, one example I like to talk about is a 22-year-old college graduate came to us who'd been writing a blog all through college, had a very successful blog with over 20,000 people reading her blog every week. And she came to us and said, I'd like to monetize this blog. And what can we do? And we sat down and worked out a program with her where she could start a direct marketing site talking about the kinds of things she blogged about. And the site is called Design Darling. And what she does is she sells everything from clothing to jewelry to monogrammed cups and trays and things like that. And she's been remarkably successful. Has built a very large, successful business, and it started from nothing. I mean, she started this business, if I can recall, with like $1,200, and that was it.
So what aspects of the business did she need help with or guidance with?
Well, she really didn't know how to get into the direct marketing business. How much inventory should she buy? What products, what kind of areas should she buy the products with? And that's what we were working her with. How many products should she have in her inventory? What does she do when a product doesn't sell? How to merchandise the products that do sell.
Do you have any examples of some ideas that shouldn't have and didn't go any further than the idea stage?
Well, there's an interesting one. One of my clients came to us with a toy that had won the Wharton School Award for Best Business Plan.
This is the Wharton School from Penn.
The
From the University of
the
Pennsylvania.
Wharton School, yes, from University of Pennsylvania. And this had won an award for being the best business plan written in that particular year. And she brought it to us, very proud of her business plan. And in this particular case, the business plan had this product selling on the internet at a fairly high price, $75 for this toy. And they weren't doing well. Well, we worked with the business plan, we read it, we studied the market, and today the product is a very successful toy that barely sells on the internet, but it sells at $50 in Toys R Us, FAO Schwarz, and everything like that. So the business plan that was so well received never worked, and we really changed the business plan for her.
Now, who figured that out, or how did that come to the people developing it with her? Someone came to the conclusion that $75 on the internet wasn't, well, she came to that conclusion. That's why she came to SCORE, I guess.
We talked to her about various research methods to evaluate how to figure out the pricing, who to talk to determine if it's the right pricing. And we had 2 counselors working on this particular account, and the 2 of us drew the conclusions with her that there was a better way to sell the product.
Now, SCORE, you talked about 2 counselors here. How many people are volunteering here in the SCORE office in Fairfield County?
We have 100 counselors
Wow.
in Fairfield County SCORE. Our chapter every year is rated one of the top 3 chapters in the country. That's out of 364. It's a very well-run, very committed chapter, and hopefully people in the audience would come to SCORE in general as a national organization. They go to www.score.org, and you'll get the national, and there's a way to find out what's the nearest chapter to you. Given with 364 chapters, there's a lot of chapters around the country. Our chapter is SCORE Norwalk, and it's scorenorwalk.org. And if you want counseling, it's very simple. Just go on the website, scroll down about halfway, and you'll see a button that says Request Counseling. Push the button, fill in a couple of boxes, and ideally within 48 or 72 hours, someone will be on the phone to you and say, let's set up a date for counseling.
All free, no strings attached,
No strings
no
attached.
downside. If you do a pro and con model, you only need 1 column, pro. Now,
We work with, I have clients I've seen for 4 years, every month for 4 years. I have other clients you see a couple of times and they got out of what they needed and they go away. Some clients go away for a while, then come back, and it's very nice. I have great clients.
any minimum or maximum requirements before you can take advantage of this?
Absolutely none.
No size, no...
No size, not at all. We have people that have no sales and just an idea, and we have other people. I have some clients that are doing multi-million dollars in sales.
Well, we know small business makes America great. And I think one of the reasons why the SCORE of Norwalk is so good is because you wrote the manual for how to make things happen. Was that right?
Well, after seeing so many clients with the same kinds of issues, I decided to put it down on paper. And I've now seen 500 to 700 clients, probably at the 300 to 400 client range. I started writing a book and figured if I could write a book covering the major topics that people were interested in, it would be of help to my clients and the SCORE clients. And my principal reason in writing this book was to help them.
And that is this book that we just talked about, You Can Do It, a guide for starting and running small business.
Your own business, right.
Your own
Yes,
business.
running a small business,
Now,
right.
I also attended, if that's the right word, your webinar online. It's about 40 minutes, And I don't know if it's the same as the book or the substance of the book, but I found it really helpful. Your 5 guideposts that you talked about, and a lot of fill-in in between. If anyone is interested in learning about starting a business, going to SCORE, or doing it on their own, is there some place that they could go or contact you to get that kind of information to help them out?
If somebody emailed me and requested a copy of the webinar, I would send it to them. It's very simple. It's TLG@groupsplus.com, spelled out, GROUPSPLUS.com. That's TLG@groupsplus.com.
For Thomas L. Green, is it Greenbaum these days or Green Twig?
These days it's Baum.
Yeah. Very good. Tom and I have a thing going about names. He calls me certain names, all of which are nice, and I call him Green Twig, Green Tree, Green Leaf, Greenbaum on rare occasion.
Right.
That's very good, Tom. Now, if a client or when a client comes into SCORE, they'll either do it by phone or email, as you were just talking about. They come in. How do counselors get assigned to them?
We have a individual in our chapter who assigns clients based on the need, assigns counselors based on the need of the client. So if somebody was interested in marketing or e-commerce, they might be assigned to myself or someone who has that background. If it was someone who needed manufacturing help, they wouldn't assign them to me. They would assign them to somebody with a manufacturing background. If someone basically needed finance help, how to raise money, for example. A lot of people come to us with a need to raise money. How do I raise money to start my business? They would go to another counselor who's an expert, has expertise in raising money.
That's amazing, and there are enough volunteers around that fill each of those categories.
Plenty of volunteers.
And then you get assigned a prime consultant, and then what is it?
Everybody gets a principal consultant, and then there's, depending on the needs, you either have a co-counselor or you bring in 2, 3, 4 counselors. I frequently get called in to help in one meeting or two if there's a marketing or an e-commerce issue, or I would bring somebody in if there's a manufacturing or finance issue. But my clients stay with me as a primary, I'm sort of the primary care business person.
Very good. You brought something with you, I believe, from one of the clients that have come into SCORE. What have we got here?
We had a client who came to us one day with a hair clip.
Let me just put this up while you talk. So,
Client came to us with a hair clip glued together, and she's a nurse who's an inventor, and she came up with the idea that she could invent something that would fit on a nurse's belt for the stethoscope. And I'll take it out of the box here.
Go ahead.
And we helped her develop this product, which is now on the market, which is called the Nurse-Born Stethoscope Holder.
Let me see if we can get a close-up of this.
That goes on the belt, and the stethoscope fits in the front. And it's so far been extremely well received by nurses and doctors.
Let me bring this back here.
But that's a good example of somebody had the idea, came in and said, all right, what do we do? How do we get it manufactured? How do we get it? This is manufactured in China. And what do we call it? And how do we market it? And it's in its beginning stages, but it's going to be an extremely successful product.
Now, did they have this, when they first came in, you said it was a hair clip?
It was a hair clip glued together. Just, here's the idea I have. That's all it was.
And you actually helped them manufacture it or get it manufactured in China? Do you have contacts or know how to do it?
No, we told her how to go about and find contacts. We're counselors. We just help people do what they could be doing. We don't do it for them.
Sounds like Congress.
Sounds like Congress.
No, I'm just kidding, of course. What are some of the other stories you might have for us of clients you've had or activities that you've had for yourself that have been interesting?
Well, there's another interesting client we've had, and they teach special needs children how to swim. And they came to us as a very small company with 2 women teaching special needs children how to swim. And we have worked with them now over the last 2.5 years and to build a very large swimming enterprise with camps to teach special needs children how to swim and special swimming programs, and they've now broadened into regular swimming lessons, and it's called angelfish therapy, and the regular swimming is called Swim Whisperers. It's a very successful program, and it's all over the state of Connecticut. It's in Massachusetts, it's in New Jersey right now, and that's as far as it's gone so far.
So what's the business? That's really good, and it's great to know that some of these things have a good social value too. But what's the business model for them? Do they make money on that?
Oh, they make money. They make plenty of money because they have right now a large staff of swimming instructors, and they charge based on what the instructor, costs, and then they get money for each instructor and each hour of teaching. They also teach themselves, depending on how much time they have, but they're getting so big now that they really have to do the managing of people rather than just teach a lot of swimming themselves.
So Tom, you're a successful business person. You're now retired, which means that you work for SCORE. You're on several boards, mostly boards that also do good social things. You want to tell us about a couple of those?
One of the boards I'm on is here in Norwalk, Connecticut. It's called the Mid-Fairfield AIDS Project, and we work with AIDS patients and HIV patients, trying to find them housing and trying to make sure they get good care. I also work for a nonprofit. I'm on the board of a nonprofit in Westchester County called the Mental Health Association of Westchester, and we provide mental health services for severely disabled people throughout all of Westchester.
That's very good. Of all of the things you did from the time that you were at Procter & Gamble to today, what did you enjoy the most?
I think the most fun thing I did was the least successful, and that was my eBay business. Mm-hmm. That was like it was in the heydays of eBay. That was great, but I kept losing money every day. I love what I do at SCORE. I really enjoy working with my clients, but in terms of sheer fun, eBay was the most fun thing I ever did.
And now you are happily retired, doing all this volunteer work, this board work, SCORE. I know you're also on the board of your co-op.
Right.
And manage to play tennis every now and then with me and others. Tom would always beat me, so we never play for points, right? We just hit it around until I get too tired. But do you have any advice for people who are retired or thinking about retiring to keep them happy and young and their minds occupied?
I really do. I think you have to plan your retirement the way you would plan a business. It goes back to the second step of the 5 steps, is planning. You just can't retire and figure out the next day what I'm going to do. If you don't have a plan, you're going to be very bored. And whether you want to take courses, whether you want to play sports all the time, although you can't play golf every day or play tennis every day, you really have to have a plan. And one of the parts of my plan was SCORE. And I spend roughly 20 to 25 hours a week at SCORE working with clients.
And I know another part of your plan is staying physically fit, as you are. And I am amazed, but tell me how many laps of a full-length pool you swim daily?
I swim 70 to 80 laps every day.
70 to 80 laps every day. And you still look great. Can you lift your arms all the way up?
I can lift them all the way up.
So another aspect is keeping in shape. And
Right.
You're amazing in the way you do that. And of course, another aspect that I know you and I both share is having a great wife that takes good care of us.
I do have that. I'm married 48 years, not as much as you, but I am married 48 years.
That's really good, really good. What other aspects of the 5 steps could you enlighten us on? Either things to concentrate on, things you found happen again and again and again and again, or an interesting story from one of your clients?
Well, I think one of the things about retail businesses, anyone who sells to the public, is to really make sure you know what's happening to your money. So many small businesses I talk to, one of the first questions I ask them is, do you even know what's in your bank account? Could you tell me within 10% of how much is in your bank account? Most small businesses cannot tell you that. Most small businesses don't look at a profit and loss statement, and many of them don't know what a profit and loss statement is. Very important to know where your cash is coming from, where it's going to, and I happen to be a great believer in using accounting systems like QuickBooks to keep track of your business so you can see what you're making and where your money is going to. So I think that's really key.
And how often should you look at that?
Monthly, at least.
At least
If
monthly.
not, at least monthly. But most people don't. They work hand to mouth, and they put it in the cash register. They put it in, hopefully put it in the bank, and they really don't know how much money they're making, and whether they're really making money or fooling themselves.
With the clients at SCORE, do they fall more into a manufacturing category or a service category?
Barry, the SCORE clients really are all over the lot. If I were to think of my clients, I have everything from a man who has built a very large business from scratch selling fabrics for suits and sport coats. That's all he does is sell fabrics. He's got a big company doing that. I have people in the consulting business. I have people in the healthcare business, mental health. One of my clients just does executive functioning for autistic children. It could be a product, could be a service. I've worked with a lot of people wanting to be consultants or home stagers.
Okay, Tom, I know we could go on, but we have run out of time, or just about out of time, so welcome everyone. If you haven't seen us on channel 88 here on Cablevision, check for us in YouTube. Look for Carousel, Barry Kesselman, Cablevision, and you're bound to find our shows. Meanwhile, as you can tell, it's been my pleasure to welcome Tom here and have these discussions with him. And I look forward to spending a lot of time with him, and I hope that you've all gained something from this. And if you've got any kind of entrepreneurial spirit, give SCORE a chance. As Thomas said, it's all pros and no cons. And we will be looking forward to seeing you again on the carousel as we ride around for our next chapter. And in fact, it's going to be an entrepreneur. So thank you very much, and good night. We'll see you.